December at Gasper Cottage is not really a matter of flowers, although these roses do keep going. It's more looking at the structure and some of the small delights. I mean, that fern and stone is lovely. But in structure, clearly the statue is a huge thing, but it's also the house itself and the barn and the feel of that. And the way this old wall, such a delight to have an old wall with all the lichen and texture, and the way the ivy forms a kind of punctuation as you go along the wall with the train fruit trees. And then, there's still a reasonable amount of seed head action in front in the modern parlance, and then a few evergreens, but needs a bit more work in that area. These big kind of tubs, trunks, form a good structure and relate very well, and they're interesting because you see past them and round them as you walk round the garden. Obviously, up at the top of the drive, I've got the birch, and I've just actually added 3 more birch to the other side of the drive to try and even that up. Speaking of evening up, the one bit of structured clipping that we have is getting together, as is that little osmanthus which has been kind of cloud pruned. And there are various box blobs around the garden, which we seem to be lucky not to have any blight, but it's pretty good. And they are now all coming together and forming a single blob. These ones on the corners of the bank of the drive took years to come together. I mean, I must have added so many more plants. The front garden, not a lot of structure beyond the hedges themselves. But as you get to the end, the hedges here form this kind of gateway and barrier, and you gradually work your way around until you see through the birch and out to the view beyond and out to the orchard. So again, the hedge here is still coming along, but the idea is that my secret garden will eventually be a secret. And there's lots more places where I'm adding more structure. If only I'd known how much structure I'd need, I'd have started years ago. Little berberis tucked in there, and a few more things just tucked in, and hopefully it's just going to soften that link to the landscape. And here there's a few evergreens just talking to that holly out in the field. Well, not talking to, relating to the holly out in the field. The pond itself, I'm going to have to say, I've got to do more work. There is no structure right at the pond's edge. Need lots more corners, things like that. But the willow that I wove here, it must be 15 years ago now, is a lovely trellis. And I'm adding more willow really for the winter colour in other areas, which I'm enjoying very much. The grasses, of course, are fabulous, and they move in the wind, and they retain so much life. But, in the modern way, things don't get cut down unless they go soggy and fall to pieces. And those sedums in particular form a wonderful counterpoint to all the other shapes. And, I've already mentioned the corners that I need by the pond. Well, I have sources of corners to propagate from, so all will be well. And there's still, the cardoons are great, and actually even just that shrub there, its stems are great. But as always, it comes back to the view. It's always the view at Gasper.